and welcome to Gatsby Cloud. My name is Joel, and I lead the product team here at Gatsby. Today, I want to share all about Gatsby Cloud, the platform that we've purpose-built for deploying Gatsby sites for both developers and content editors. We've had a singular focus over the last year at Gatsby, making Gatsby deployments incredibly fast. We like to think about Gatsby Cloud like a good Unix utility that does one thing well, and in this case, it's build your Gatsby site as fast as possible. So today, I'd like to show you how we've done that and what we're excited about going forward. Over the last few years, we've learned that our community and customers are hyper-focused on building highly performant, content-rich websites. For many, this is their day job, their business, their livelihood, and it's exciting to be helping so many people create and thrive. But why do they pick Gatsby for building these highly performant and content-rich websites? Well, for developers who are learning or know React, Gatsby is the static-first solution that comes with performance baked in. And on top of that, Gatsby comes with a plugin ecosystem and a baked-in GraphQL interface for easily sourcing and templating data from any CMS or data source. It's all the convenience of building in an enclosed monolithic CMS environment, but with the elegance of modern tooling. For people who have been building content-rich sites for a long time, Gatsby represents a better way of building those sites and ensuring that the end user has a delightful and seamless experience. And part of that better way of building sites means getting that site live to your customers, your readers, your constituents, your community as quickly as possible. And so we built Gatsby Cloud to help developers and content editors alike make incredibly fast changes to their highly performant content-rich sites. So let me show you a bit of how Gatsby Cloud works, and then I'll show you how we've made it so fast. At its core, Gatsby Cloud is a continuous integration tool for quickly building your Gatsby site and deploying the static results to a CDN or content delivery network. On Gatsby Cloud, we source builds from your code changes in your Git repository and content and data changes from your CMS or data source. Each change creates an atomic, immutable deployment that ensures your site always has the latest appropriate changes deployed seamlessly together. And specifically for content editors, changes happen so often that waiting for traditional build times just isn't tenable. But with our cloud incremental builds, editors can get their changes live in a matter of seconds. These builds take advantage of specific caching and deployment strategies that are unique to Gatsby's CI/CD infrastructure. Now, for developers, one of the greatest innovations of the last 10 years of web development has been the evolution of these atomic immutable deploys for every change in your code base. This means that developers can get quick and easy previews of each and every change, and they don't have to wait their turn to test things out in a single staging environment. And on Gatsby Cloud, we leverage the power of Git and modern platforms like GitHub, GitLab, and Bitbucket to create unique environment for each pull or merge request against your main branch, so that your team can review changes atomically for each and every PR. We even push the atomic URL for each preview build as comments so that your developers can quickly check their work in a production-like environment. And for content editors, one of the more difficult leaps to make when using a headless content management system is understanding how changes on a data model will affect their website. But with our integrated CMS previews, content editors can easily preview their draft content before publishing it live. With a host of one-click integrations with our CMS partners, content editors can open up a unique preview for their content changes that will offer them a production-like environment where they can review the changes that they've made before they go live. Now, one of the key innovations of the Jamstack has been to rely on the deployment of mainly static assets directly to a content delivery network, rather than expecting a single server or set of servers to handle all of the website traffic. This has meant that Gatsby sites can easily scale to millions and millions of visitors without risk of a server falling over and any downtime. And on Gatsby Cloud, you can deploy to our integrated CDN built on top of Fastly, which powers websites like Amazon, BuzzFeed, and Yelp, as well as platforms like GitHub and Pantheon. The underlying CDN infrastructure means that copies of your site are instantly distributed around the globe, reducing latency to your visitors. And you can rest assured that the battle-tested infrastructure means you won't have to worry about any downtime. And since we know that our customers are building these highly performant, content-rich websites, we aim to keep performance easily measurable for each and every build on Gatsby Cloud. So we run lighthouse tests on every build and every pull request, allowing you to monitor performance over time and track any regressions that may have been introduced. Now, on top of serving highly performant static sites, Gatsby also allows developers to use functions on Gatsby Cloud. And this has allowed them to add dynamic functionality, like calling out to third-party API services without exposing any private keys. Teams can use Gatsby Cloud functions to add forms, authentication, email triggers, and a whole lot more. All this with just a few lines of code. And while functions can take you pretty far, with the release of Gatsby 4 last year, Gatsby developers have been opened up to a whole new world of rendering modes and the dynamic possibilities that come with them for their Gatsby sites. So with server-side rendering, developers can build highly customized real-time applications that respond to each and every request. And with deferred static generation, developers can now choose when an initial build happens for their lower ranking pages. Thanks to Gatsby 4, developers can build large-scale and dynamic websites that are still highly performant. Now, making the processes and results of building a website incredibly fast has been at the heart of our open source project over the last 7 years. And it's been our focus since day one as a team here at Gatsby. But what are some of the tangible ways that we've helped our developers and content editors achieve this level of speed? Well, here's a look back at the last year and some of the changes that we've made to make that happen. When we launched incremental builds almost 2 years ago, we were laser focused on helping content editors make incredibly fast changes to their site. That meant figuring out how to make just the smallest changes possible and shipping those changes to their production website. Content editors have loved the experience of incremental builds. And so we open sourced the build process for incremental builds with Gatsby 3 last year. Now, even local development can take advantage of incremental builds, making for a vastly improved developer experience. And one of the reasons that developers choose Gatsby and Gatsby Cloud for their customers is that CMS previews provide content folks the editorial experience they expect for draft content. For editors who have worked in monolithic CMSs, they have historically been able to have a preview in just a few seconds. Over the last year, we've been pushing our preview closer and closer to that benchmark. And we've done that by making previews both incremental and static, ensuring that content editors are able to see a production-grade version of their changes. And most importantly, over the last year, we rebuilt preview from the ground up to ensure a consistent and production-grade preview for content editors. Previews are static and they're fast. And for developers, we've made some massive improvements to the Gatsby Cloud deployment pipeline to increase the speed of both cold and warm builds. By leveraging parallel architecture available for the query running step, one of the most expensive parts of the Gatsby process, we've reduced the average cold build time locally and in Gatsby Cloud. Additionally, using smart caching for assets and dependencies, we've also dramatically reduced warm builds for those who are deploying and making changes often. On the whole, we've seen greater than a 17% reduction in build times for all Gatsby users. And of course, the final step in making any changes to a production static site include getting the build output deployed on your edge network or your CDN. The reason we built an edge network for Gatsby Cloud last year was that we heard time and time again that third-party providers could be unpredictable based on their API stability or load at any given time. And so, as Dustin mentioned earlier, we're so excited to release an initial look at incremental deploys today, which make deployments on Gatsby Cloud even faster. With incremental deploys, Gatsby Cloud is able to intelligently publish just the files that need to be changed without using any expensive hash operations. Then, all routes associated with the new build are incrementally updated. And by incrementally deploying the site, developers and content editors alike can make rapid changes to their website that are still atomic and immutable, but are deployed incrementally in a fraction of the time. To learn more about incremental deploys and to sign up for the limited beta, please visit the URL you see, gatsby.dev/incremental-deploys. And that's not all. In order to dramatically improve the build times for your sites on Gatsby Cloud, we're opening up the beta for our image CDN so that you can intelligently and asynchronously transform and cache your images. Expensive image transformations can now be moved out of the main Gatsby process, and we've seen this improve build times from 50 to 80% on some of our largest sites. It's incredible. But the image CDN also is going to offer key improvements for your users and performance. We found that by serving images through a single URL proxy, we were able to shave up to 300 milliseconds off of the initial page load. This improves some of your core web vitals like largest contentful paint and cumulative layout shift. And this has massive impacts on real-world user experience. The image CDN is going to change not only how developers and content editors experience creating with Gatsby, but also how their end users experience the websites that they're building. To learn more about how to enable the image CDN for your site today, visit the URL you see below, gatsby.dev/img-cdn. But what about the future? Gatsby Cloud has come a long way in the last year, and we're so excited for all the things that we're working on in 2022. I wanted to take a few minutes to highlight some of the things that we've already shipped, as well as some areas where we'll be digging in for the remainder of the year. Now, we've heard time and time again that developers love using Gatsby to power their highly performant, content-rich sites. And as editors and site owners continue to adopt a headless approach to their content, it becomes even more important that developers are able to provide an excellent web experience for that content. More and more, Gatsby is becoming the default solution for teams at agencies and marketing departments, where performance is the priority. So, to help teams get farther faster, we have shipped a whole new set of CMS-specific starters to support one of the most common use cases for Gatsby, the homepage of your business. These starters ship with content models that give you a ready-to-go homepage, so you can start customizing and tweaking with all of the best practices baked in. These starters, built by our team of designers and developers, can get you farther faster on your next project, regardless of the CMS that you're using. Check out the demos and get started on your project today by visiting gatsby.dev/cms-starters. As the Gatsby community has grown, so has the scale of not only the websites being built, but also the teams that are building those sites. And so today, we're launching support for self-hosted GitHub instances for teams that are using on-premises or cloud-based approaches to private infrastructure. Enterprise teams can now source Gatsby sites from any number of self-hosted GitHub instances that they maintain. We know that many teams working with Gatsby at scale will be excited to use this today. Additionally, Gatsby Cloud now supports static IP addresses for users who need to deploy their sites and access our webhooks from behind a firewall. You can still leverage the power of our serverless platform with all of the security that you and your team expect. Speaking of security, we've recently shipped enterprise-level authentication options, including the most popular SAML and single sign-on providers. Large teams can easily control who has access to their Gatsby Cloud workspace using the tools that they and their security professionals recommend. All that in Gatsby Cloud is now backed by SOC 2 compliance, helping you and your internal team rest easy about the security of your site being built and hosted on our platform. Another area that we've been investing in this year has been the redirects that Gatsby Cloud supports. Starting today, you can use both geo and language-based redirects to support your security and internationalization use cases when building on Gatsby in Gatsby Cloud. Using both country and language codes, you can send users to the appropriate version of your site that suits their needs. Additionally, Gatsby Cloud now supports reverse proxies to allow you to host your external APIs and services on the same URL as your site. No more CORS issues are going to hold you back from building even the most complex of Gatsby sites on Gatsby Cloud. To learn more about all of these amazing new features, please visit gatsby.dev/cloud. And finally, in 2022, we're excited about where the JavaScript ecosystem and the power of edge networks are heading. The standard today across the Jamstack is providing an excellent user experience that is measured by core web vitals, married with an excellent developer experience that is measured by the time it takes to ship your changes. It's an exciting time to be building at the edge. And as we think about what Gatsby developers and their customers are radically focused on, we're honing in on a few key questions that we'd invite you to think about as well. Firstly, we're exploring the question of What does it mean to render highly performant, content-rich websites at the edge while still supporting all the needs of a modern marketing team? Performance marketing does entail a performant website, but it also includes having complex and rich data sets about your users for better personalized content and experiments. Secondly, we're asking, how far can our data layer go? One of the reasons that Gatsby developers love using Gatsby for these content-rich websites is that the data layer in Gatsby provides a consistent, easy to understand templating experience, regardless of the data source. Templating for your CMS works just like templating for your e-commerce store, which works just like templating for your database. You get the idea. And in 2022, we're excited to invest more time in the data layer in two specific ways. First, we're going to improve the experience of authoring data source plugins. These plugins are the power tools of creating Gatsby sites, and we want to ensure a consistent and performant experience across all of our data sources. Today, the team is hard at work on a project to provide better tooling to source plugin authors and are excited to share more soon. Secondly, we're taking a hard look at how sourcing impacts the build process, and we're experimenting with how we can take advantage of parallel and asynchronous processes and infrastructure that we've already built, all to make data sourcing not only fast, but extensible. We see the Gatsby data layer as just the start of a ton of interesting improvements and possibilities for Gatsby developers. Watch this space. 2022 is going to be an exciting year for Gatsby. Thanks for attending. Let's go build some amazing things together.
Stay tuned for the live Q&A.